Energy is way down. Energy is way down. It was $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. Think of that for gasoline. And now it's probably $2.25. There are some places it's $2. It broke $2 at a couple of locations in the South. In places like California where they charge such high taxes, it's higher, but it's still much lower than what it was a year ago.
So that's Donald Trump speaking at a cabinet meeting this morning. It's still going on, and I'm sure we're going to do a subsequent video about it because after he gives his quote-unquote prepared remarks, the rest of the cabinet jumps in. And right now, RFK Jr. is talking, so we're going to let them talk and do a subsequent video about it. But I really wanted to address and debunk the lies and the stupidity from Donald Trump in this cabinet meeting in terms of his prepared remarks. Patrick DeHaan, who is a gas expert, pointed out, we are not seeing any stations report to us below $2 a gallon this morning. Having said that, even the wholesale price is not below $2 a gallon, but no stations sell gas at the wholesale price anyway. So Trump is lying. Lying, can you believe it? Lying about gas prices on his watch, even though they have come down on his watch. He just can't help himself. He's lying. But before, folks, we unpack all of that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, here's some other clips of Donald Trump in his prepared remarks, lying his ass off or being visibly confused or just generally screwing up.
No tax on Social Security. So seniors, I don't know how you can vote for anybody else.
So, of course, Trump is lying. We've debunked this lie in particular. What he did is give a more generous tax deduction, which is temporary, for some Social Security recipients. Not all seniors, and it's certainly no tax on Social Security. He is wildly overstating the tax benefits in terms of permanence, in terms of scale of his recent One Big Beautiful Bill. So again, misrepresenting the truth. It's pretty embarrassing. Here's another clip.
And then I saw this poor, stupid Chuck Schumer, the guy. He looks like he's aged 100 years. And I don't like getting into looks. You know, looks don't mean anything, right? When you're in politics, looks don't matter. I look at Pam, I would never say she's beautiful because that'd be the end of my political career.
So, again, just kind of a weird moment there, insulting Chuck Schumer's looks, then saying he doesn't like to get into looks when that's usually his go-to. Like he insults people's weight and their appearance. He did that ever since he entered politics formally in the 2016 presidential election, attacking not just the looks of his opponents, but also their loved ones, their spouses. Remember what he said about Ted Cruz's wife? Publicly insulting the appearance of Ted Cruz's wife. And then, of course, Ted Cruz would ultimately go prostrate before Trump and bend the knee. But going after looks has been Trump's motive or his primary tactic since he entered politics. Now, I agree it's throwing a stone in a glass house, given that Trump is not a particularly good-looking man, certainly not at this point in his life. But when he says, I can't call Pam Bondi beautiful because it'd be the end of my career, bro. The Access Hollywood tape where you admitted to grabbing people by the pussy, that's a direct quote, that should have been the end of your political career. You were found liable for sexual abuse and defamation against E. Jean Carroll and a Bergdorf Goodman in the 90s, right? That didn't kill your political career. The event happened in the 90s. The decision by the court came, of course, just a couple of years ago. That didn't end your political career. Republicans don't give a shit that you are a predator. They just don't care. So this idea that you can't compliment your attorney general is absurd. Here's another clip.
We've taken so many criminals, over 1,000. I watched a man from Maryland who said to me, sir, you're the greatest president. You're doing an unbelievable job. What a great job. Governor Moore, has anyone heard of him? He's another hopeful for president. I don't think so. But I met him, and I didn't realize it was on camera. Did you see they caught him on camera? I was at a game, I don't know, like the Army-Navy game or something, and I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes, we've taken...
So... we just did a video about this. You've probably seen it. MAGA Fox News host Will Cain tried to peddle the same line of bullshit. Trump and Wes Moore have gone back and forth about this. Will Cain tried to jump to Trump's defense on Fox News by showing footage of Trump meeting Governor Moore and it vindicated Moore and exposed Trump to be a liar. Will Cain embarrassed himself. He was visibly humiliated. He was like, oh, okay, well, we didn't hear, Moore say exactly what Trump said he said, but who's telling the truth? We'll let you decide. And now after that, where Trump was humiliated and Will Cain was humiliated, Trump is doubling down on it? Stupid. I mean, again, just further proof of Trump's cognitive decline or his pathological dishonesty. Here's another clip.
Badly. But, and I bet you see a big difference in the streets right now. And this is only 12 days, but people are telling me they're going out to dinner now. They haven't, I told the story of my friend, but I have a lot of friends that are going out to dinner all the time now in D.C., and they weren't doing it 12 days ago. They would never even think. One of my friends went out 5 times. It was 4 times the last time I told. Now it's 5 times. He said, I love going out to dinner, and restaurants are starting to open again. A lot of them closed because, nobody wanted to go into a restaurant.
So again, Trump's just lying about this, and the reason he's lying is because he has seen reports since he deployed the National Guard that restaurant business has cratered in D.C., and so he sees this and is like, well, that's not good. So I have to tell people it's the opposite. Again, as the New York Times note, as troops walk the streets, Washington restaurants report a slump, as reported by the New York Times. So again, totally contradicting what Trump has to say here. But he's an inveterate liar, and I bet, as has been the case, unfortunately, that reporters, when they do get a chance to ask Trump questions, will not fact check him on this and ask him to cite his sources. Here's another clip.
Tell you, they showed one scene where a bunch of Nicaragua guys or whatever, maybe MS-13, maybe MSDNC, okay? Because to me, they're worse. I think they're worse. MSNBC maybe is worse than Nicaragua. Real scum, real dishonest people.
This is what I'm saying. Like he's obviously in a state of cognitive decline. He had no conception of where that sentence was going to go. He heard Tren de Aragua and MS-13. He's probably thinking of the Kilmar Abrego Garcia knuckles, the Photoshopped knuckles. He heard MS. Then, of course, his mind instantly goes to liberal network MSNBC, whom he has not only complained about publicly, but has threatened repeatedly, both in and out of office. He did it again recently, threatening to use the powers of the federal government to punish MSNBC. He calls it MSNDC, and then the sycophantic cabinet laughs along, even though the joke doesn't make that much sense. And by the way, can you imagine if during a cabinet meeting under President Biden or President Obama or President Clinton or the future Democratic president, if we should be so lucky, if they were to routinely insult and threaten Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, The Daily Wire, Candace Owens? Can you imagine? And then having the Democrats' cabinet laugh alongside how Republicans would react to that? Can you imagine? Of course, it wouldn't happen because Democratic politicians, again, are objectively morally superior to Donald Trump and Republican politicians. But maybe that's something that we're going to need in the future, is just to give them a taste of their own medicine. So speaking of saying unhinged shit, here's Trump's doing that right here.
Huge problems. Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime, because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole.
So that right there, again, imagine a Democratic president saying Florida's a hellhole, Mississippi's a hellhole, St. Louis, Missouri is a hellhole. Any place that is in a red state or a red state in general is a hellhole. Denigrating not just the city, but the people who live there. Not just the state, but the people who live there. Imagine what the backlash would be if Biden, Obama, Clinton, if Governor Newsom has been trolling Trump, but imagine if he's like, red states just fucking suck. They're unhealthy, they're poor, they're fat, they're poorly educated, they're dependent on California, that we're better than these red states because they depend on us. Imagine if those words or something like it left the mouth of a Democratic politician. And yet Trump and the Republicans are graded on this absurd, indefensible, and dishonest curve. And it's part of the problem, folks. It's part of the problem. And quite frankly, we contribute to it. I complain about Trump professionally as part of the job, right? Political commentator in an age of authoritarianism. But we have gotten used to Trump saying the most unhinged shit, and we don't work to extract a political price for it. And we don't tell the people around us saying, Would you be cool if a Democrat said this? Oh, you wouldn't? Then you shouldn't be cool if Trump says it. Where are your principles? Are you a hypocrite? I don't know. And maybe it will take a President Newsom speaking a bit more like that, adopting some of Trump's rhetoric and offending red state voters like, oh, shit. Damn, I don't like it when he calls West Virginia a hellhole. I don't like it when he calls Mississippi a hellhole. I don't like it when he calls Oklahoma a hellhole. He's the president of the United States referring to his own citizens and where they live as a hellhole. It's absurd. Here's another clip.
But I think that's actually just an excuse. I actually think these people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back. I actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have.
So again, Trump's referring to him using federal authority to empty reservoirs during the California wildfires, which objectively did nothing to stop the wildfires. The shit flowed in the opposite direction. He basically, it would be just, I want you to imagine there's a fire right here, and here's my can of Monster, but pretend it's a bottle of water, right? And you've got the fires here, and imagine I take this thing of water, and instead of pouring it on the fire, I just dump it right over here, and then congratulate myself, give myself a pat on the back, say, well, job well done, I've done my job here, and I screw off. Imagine, you'd be like, what are you doing? You didn't help at all. You actually just wasted water, which could have been used elsewhere. What are you doing? That's what Trump did. That's what Trump did with California. Even conservatives and conservative experts in California are like, bro, this did nothing. You just wasted water. And then the last thing I want to point out, again, just further proof of Trump's cognitive decline, he still does not understand basic math, and he's supposed to be a mathematical and financial, a numbers genius. Listen to what he says.
That can be done is favored nations, Bobby. And we're not talking about a 25% cut or a 50. We're talking about a 1,500% cut. Because people go to Europe to buy drugs and they come back with drugs, prescription drugs, normal, I don't mean the bad drugs, I mean prescription drugs. That can be done.
He's still doubling. It's not possible to do a more than 100% cut unless people are paying you for the drugs. And he was called out on it. Trump earns comically brutal community note over price claim. He did this yesterday. So let's take a look at the community note, see if it's still there. Misleading news. If you reduce price by 100%, the price becomes zero. Item, a book, original price, $10. Price reduction, 100%. Calculation, $10 minus 100% of $10 equals $10 minus $10 equals zero. Result, the price becomes 0%, so it cannot go lower than zero to represent a more than 100% reduction. This dude's an idiot. He's the worst combination of things all at once. He's a moron, he's corrupt, he's an authoritarian, and he's not only all these things, he had a low baseline in terms of intelligence, and now it's in rapid decline. And he's the most powerful man on earth, and we have to deal with him for another 3.5 years at a minimum. As I said, we're probably going to refer to this cabinet meeting in a subsequent video once it gets done, because I have no doubt that there is some truly heinous and unhinged shit leaving the mouths of RFK Jr. and Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth and Howard Lutnick and all the other clowns at this particular circus. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.